Huzzy says if a GBP ranks well for their service and service plus location modifier, but doesn't show up for the service plus near me, does that mean Google's still not associate the brand with the location? How can we increase near me modifier rankings in the map results? Well, from my understanding, it's more about kind of what Google understands about the business and it's kind of brand strength in its own local area. So if you have, how can you improve the near me search modifiers? Usually, if it's performing well for the query and the query plus the location modifier, it should be ranking well for the near me modifier too. Usually, and again, I do competitive analysis and audits all the time, guys. So I'm constantly looking at all different types of local SEO campaigns. And usually so when you're looking at a local search grid report, okay, if the general query is doing well and then usually the near me query will be doing similar, fairly close to the average ranking positioning or average rank or whatever of the query without the near me modifier. But usually the near me modifier will show typically, right? There's always outliers, guys. There's always, exceptions to this. This is not a hard and fast rule, but typically what I see is the near me modifier will show slightly lesser performance, like it's not performing as well. The average rank will be lower, higher in number, which means it's not performing as well, if that makes sense. And it's usually because if you think about what the near me modifier is asking, that's an explicit modifier that is asking Google to return businesses that are physically located near that searcher according to where that searcher is located at the time that they perform that search. So if the GBP is performing fairly well for a general search query without a location modifier or the near me modifier, then it will generally perform well for that query plus the near me modifier, but the average rank will be a higher number, which means it's not performing quite as well. And that's because it starts to drop out of the three pack faster in a closer proximity. And when it does start to drop out, it typically drops out a lot. Like instead of it being kind of a slow progression from the top 3 to 10 plus, it's a quicker progression between being in the three pack and being, 10 plus or further down, if that makes sense. And that's because the modifier is asking Google to specifically return businesses that are physically located next to the searcher. So if you think about the general query and the query plus the city or town location modifier instead of a near me modifier, it will usually have a broader kind of maps coverage area. The keyword plus the location modifier, so the city or town is usually going to show, as long as it's the city or town that the GBP is physically located in, it's usually going to show better rankings than the general query or the query plus the near me modifier. But so to get back to the question, usually if you don't have a good if it's doing well for the general query and the query plus the location modifier, the city or location modifier instead of the near me modifier, then it usually means that there's some issues with what Google understands about the position of the business and its current kind of like authority in that area, if that makes sense. So how do you improve that? Well, more citations, more geographic relevance signals, right? Geo-relevance signals. That's what I found. You can also test with it. There's been some of the other SEOs like Joy Hawkins. She did something about this recently. Work the near me or near you. You don't have to put near me anymore. You can say near you, and Google will make that association now that satisfies answering a near me search query with a near you answer is an appropriate answer, if that makes sense. So if you can work the near you term into an SEO title, test with that, Huzzy. Try that. I've not been testing with that. I will typically put near you in one of the headings, so an H2 somewhere on the page. So like, contact the company name near you in whatever the city name is, right? So that could be like a H2 at the bottom as a call to action, like, call to action paragraph. So the H2 would say contact Benner's Tree Service in near you in Pikeville or something like that, if that makes sense. You could test with that. You could test with it in the SEO title. But what I've done to improve kind of near me search queries, performance for near me search queries, is just more citations, more geographic links, batch geo map, Press releases, again, because press releases can help build location authority when done the way that I do them. So all of those types of things to kind of just help to improve what Google understands about the business and location. I've talked about this many times. If and guys, I'm telling you, it works like crazy right now. And I no matter how many times I try to get clients to do it, they don't. It's very rare that they do it. So I understand the frustration in trying to get agencies to get their clients to do this. But if you can take photos and videos from out within the job site, upload them directly to the maps listing, not through, you don't forward the image via SMS or email, none of that. You take photos from a mobile device. The employees of the company can do this, right? They go out to a job site, take photos on their mobile phone, and then go straight to the Google Maps, search for the company name, pull up the maps listing, and click add photos and add the photos directly to the listing. That right there will help to improve those near me search queries. There's no question. As long as those, I'm not saying you do one batch of photos and then boom, you're going to rank for near me terms. That's not what I'm saying. But if they do it consistently, they will. Guaranteed. I promise you they will. Because I'm telling you guys, I've talked about this before, but I've had a number of trees. For years, I've been telling my clients to do this, and less than 5% of them do it. That's not a joke. We'll do it consistently. But when those that have, I've had a number of tree service clients that have done this, that developed the habit of taking photos and or videos on every job that they would go to and uploading it to the GBP. And I'm telling you, within 6 months of doing that consistently, they've canceled their SEO services with me. Every time. It's not a joke. And so people say, well, why would you tell them to do that then if it's going to result in them losing them as a client? Well, for two reasons. Number one, isn't it our responsibility to help the client get the best, perform the best that they can, right? To get the best results that we can. That's our responsibility. To like, we're the marketer, we're the professional that they hired. We should be doing everything in our power to help them get the best results that they possibly can. And so, yes, and by the way, so why do I tell them to do this? Because I know that less than 5% of them are going to do it anyway. So there's no reason that we shouldn't. It would be unethical not to tell them, right? It's up to them whether they want to do it or not. And again, less than 5% of them will actually do it consistently. So they're not going to see the benefit from it, right? And that's the thing. They'll do it once or twice and they don't see an immediate benefit from it. So that's why they don't do it. They stop doing it because they don't see an instant gratification. You see what I'm saying? So why I'm bringing that up is because first of all, it's our ethical responsibility to help our clients get the best results possible. So I tell them that, number one. And number two, even if they do end up doing it, which is very rare, and they end up canceling services because it maintains their ranking positioning, it can actually help to improve it too. But it also maintains it once, if they're already ranking, it will just help to maintain that ranking for them. But if they end up canceling services, who do you think they're going to contact when they're ready for additional services, or when and if something happens where they drop and they need to get, pushed back up? Who do you think they're going to call? They're going to call the person that helped them to get the results the first time, right? And told them the magic, that secret that they were able to use to end up not needing my services anymore. So I've had clients come back to me, it might be a year and a half, 2 years later, but they come back and because they need additional stuff or something happened. I had one client in particular, he was crushing it for a long time, but he lost his GBP. And I don't know what he did to lose it. To be honest, it could have just been one of those random, GBP suspensions, which I believe does occur. I do believe that there is just some, people get caught up in random suspensions at times. And he was American Tree and Landscaping in Woodbridge, Virginia. They crushed it, man. And he was a riding buddy of mine too, like ATV riding buddy. So I did a lot of additional stuff for him and I was charging him like my lowest retainer level, but I taught him how to do that with images and videos. And he started doing that consistently. And within like 4 months, he ended up, you should have seen it. This was several years ago now, but the local search grid report, we'd do a 225, 15 by 15 grid. So 225 points with 2 mile spacing. And it would solid green the whole freaking way in Northern Virginia, densely populated area. It was nuts. And it was because of how he was doing the videos and photos so much. And it was probably a year and a half later. And I was actually kind of pissed because he was a buddy of mine. And I was like, son of a bitch, I did all these extra things for him. And then he quit even the lowest level subscription, even though I'd done all these extra things for him. But anyway, long story short, he came back to me like a year and a half later and said that his GBP was suspended. And so he has come back. And that happens, not just from a suspension, but just, something will happen. They'll slip in the rankings and they'll come back, and or they're ready for expansion. So they want to add additional services, whatever. So if you treat them right, guys, who do you think they're going to come back to? Right? It should be you anyway. So uh, that's how I would do it. If I'm going to optimize for the near me searches, play around with including the near me or near you. I would say near you in the SEO title or in one of the other headings on the page. But what I typically do is just increase geographic relevance signals to that particular location or the pages that would help to support that location. So think about this. If it's a service area business where you have a location landing page and then supporting locations that would be served from that location, that business location, then any of the supporting location pages that you could build, like neighborhood pages or adjacent cities, etc., those should all have an internal link pointing back to the location landing page that helps to build geo-relevance back to that page, etc. So just play around with it. I gave you a few different options, and you can see what works for you.